Hello everyone. This is another talking and driving video. I'm doing this because once again I would like to try to understand the most powerful force in the universe, self-declared, Jose Maria Chilito DeCastro. And he drives and he talks. I'm not going to be looking for driving pigs tonight because I don't think the trip is going to be quite long enough for me to look for the driving pigs. And I've got quite a few things in my mind. A couple people, actually, one even on the YouTube community page asked me if I was doing okay. I guess maybe because I've been a little quiet on my various social media outlets, or I don't know, maybe because of the kerfuffle going on in the role-playing game industry, which for about half my working life was my primary source of income, and it's still that was me badging out of the garage that I park in at work. And it is still a hobby of mine, role-playing games. In fact, it was my hobby, then it became my job, and then it went back to being my hobby with a little bit of side income. But, or, you know, I guess like people also could have asked if I was okay, because the little big man himself came by my community page and left a comment. Kind of a hilarious comment. I'm pretty sure he thought that he was being insulting, which just goes to show that he's clueless any which way you look at it. So yeah, starting 2023 like he ended 2022. This is gonna be a really dark video because it's nighttime. I'm on the freeway. There's no lights. So once again, I should have put a CD with some smokey jazz music in there to underscore the whole film noirish atmosphere to this. But back to the topic, such as it is. The constitutional scholar came by the YouTube community page and felt that he needed to tell me that I was a hack, that I was fat, that, you know, nobody cared about what I put on the YouTube page. All of which I have myself said on many occasions and for many years. In fact, far, far more accomplished people than Chilito have reacted to me calling myself a hack. Well, in fact, they've confronted me about it, in the sense that it was either John Wick or Jonathan Tweet played a prank. I had had a conversation way back in the days of Usenet, a little bit of back and forth with Gary Gygax. He was a game designer and a publisher from way back. One of the original designers on the Dungeons and Dragons game. We had a little bit of back and forth, and I thought that, you know, we sort of patched it up kind of amicably. Basically, it started out with me telling a story about how I had completely skipped Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition because of the first and only Dragon magazine I looked at for many, many years. Had a column in it by Gygax that was antithetical to what I thought was fun about D&D. So I ignored Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and stuck with D&D and the Star Frontiers, because that was the very first role-playing game I ever played. And then also with just the Redbox D&D, because it had that Dave Arneson guy's name on it. So I wanted to support him. I didn't want to support Gygax. Well, anyhow, I'm at Gen Con, the second Gen Con I've ever been at. The third, maybe, I don't know, but and God, I can't remember if it was Tweet or Wick, but one of them came up to me. I think it was probably Jonathan Tweet, and told me that, man, Gary Gygax is really pissed with you. You know, that conversation you guys had, and you calling yourself a hack, and you arguing with him about his opinion on dungeon, you know, on official game content and dungeon mastering. He's really mad. And so I'm going, wow. I'm just starting out in this industry. I don't want Gary Gygax mad at me. You know, him of all people. So he was at, let's see, the booth he was at was by the people who were doing Fuzzy Heroes. I forget their other game, but he had done something for them, and he was at their booth. And so I figured, gosh, I should go over and talk to Gary Gygax, clear the air if he has time. And he, of course, thought it was hilarious, because he, well, once the confusion was dispelled, but it was a nice conversation. So, and of course, Gygax was saying that, you know, don't call yourself a hack, and I was trying to tell him, look, I don't necessarily see it as a pejorative. I saw it in the sense that my goal from the time I was 7 years old was to become a writer that got paid for what he did. I wanted writing to be my job and to be my living. And you know, the definition of a hack writer: you pay them, they write it. So that was the way I was using it. And it, you know, until I found myself in a position where the money was just not coming in to match the medical bills I was getting, and I had to find a job that didn't involve writing but paid well and had health insurance. Until that day came, I wrote for money. Even things I liked, things I wanted to do, you know, buy me a cup of coffee, and I'll work on it, or what have you. So I did not see hack as being a pejorative, and I still don't see it as a pejorative, despite what poor little Chilito might think. So again, him coming to my community page and posting and thinking that he was being all cruel and insulting just made me laugh, because I'm not impressed with him. I'm not impressed with his antics. I'm not scared of him or his empty threats of legal action. In fact, that's what disgusts me about him, and why I will continue to bring him up every so often and talk about him, and because he is a cowardly little prick who cannot defend his own ideas. If he believed in his own ideas and could defend his own ideas, he would not have to try to silence his critics by threatening them and by trying to take legal action against them. If he believed in his cause and his mission, he would engage his critics, and he would knock them down with superior arguments. He would make them look foolish because he is so informed so grounded in his ideas and his arguments that the, quote, trolls would not be able to touch him. But since he's a sad little man with no real commitment or no real ideas, he has to resort to trying to be a bully and trying to silence people. So yeah, still not impressed. We'll never be impressed. We'll never be scared. Now, what I am nervous about is Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast's current antics in the game design arena, or the game publishing arena rather. Because like I said, I've turned role-playing games into a hobby for me. But a hobby that has a side revenue stream. It's a tiny revenue stream, very tiny. When I say I number sales in the dozens, I'm not saying that with false humility. It really is dozens of copies sold every month. But I'm working on products I enjoy. Promoting comics, I think, that need to be put back in the eyes of the public. Fiction that I think is more deserving of attention than certain other works by the authors that I've presented material by. But the current antics of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are a minor threat to my backstock, since a lot of it has relied upon the open game license. And the open game license is one that they are claiming that they can they can revoke and shut down any time they want. Again, they're not following the path that I thought would be the sensible one, but okay, whatever. Still, there's the risk. And even if they are presently making polite little noises, as patronizing as they are to the, quote, community, they are still saying that going forward they are going to be making it very difficult to do stuff that's compatible with their old game systems, like the one that I tend to favor, which is the design-wise tend to favor, is the D20 Modern variation of the game. So yeah, maybe that's what people react to when they ask if I'm doing okay, because I made one stream of more speculating what I could do going forward, and I've been evaluating all of this stuff, and in fact, there are 2 releases that are almost done: the Three Graces, which is just a standalone game product, and the Enchanted Dagger, which is a collection of comics with a tiny bit of game material in there. If I hadn't been trying to just sort of get this put to bed and get it out there, it would have been the first installment in the Golden Age Oddballs series that's been released for, about 5 years at this point. But the Golden Age Oddball series pretty much as a standard featured the complete run of 2 different characters, and then some fiction and other little items, which I'm scrapping because I just want to get this done and out before the final revelation of the new OGL license, since I think they're pretty much telegraphed that you're either going to be doing stuff for their 6th edition game, or you're not doing anything, or you're doing your own original game system. And aside from a lot of detail work, I already have the structure for an original game system that will still be pretty much compatible with D20 Modern. It'll just have some of the serial numbers filed off, if you will. And so yeah, I've been evaluating a whole lot of that stuff. And in fact, 3 different possible releases are coming out of that. And hell, for all I know, I might be able to get those out under the D20, under the OGL banner, and then revise them later on to be standalone, original games. Combine them all together. I don't know. We'll see. And so yes, that was driving and talking in complete darkness. I'll probably just put this up on the channel just for the hell of it. Still don't see the appeal. In fact, it seems like I'm even more scattered when I'm driving and talking than I am when I'm just sitting and talking to the camera, because, well, yeah, I got to focus on what's going on around me so I don't, run into something or kill somebody or something like that happens. But I am now at my home. Probably too dark for stalkers to figure out where I might be, because I gotta have some stalkers, right? I mean, if Chilito can have stalkers, I've got to have a few stalkers. But on that note, I'm gonna end this stream. It's not really even a stream, it's a recording, and it will be uploaded, but it was all recorded live. It's going to be unedited like everything else on my channel. Oh, one thing that also one person was concerned is that they knew that I had this idea. I was going to put up at least 1 poem, maybe 2 poems a week, and there had been 1 poem this week, and that was it. The explanation behind that, for those of you that have lasted this long, thank you. But the explanation for why there wasn't a poem this week is I had a couple of really cute ideas that I then decided weren't as cute. And as I was evaluating all this design material from the last decade or so, role-playing game design material, I found 5 poems. They're all haiku, all horror themed, and that's what the file was named. It was on a jump drive that I hadn't looked at in years, and it was titled Horror Haiku. There are 5 of them, 4 single verse haiku, and then 1 which was a poem that was 3 haiku verses that made up 1 complete kind of narrative. And I'm looking at these, and one is clearly tied to Lovecraft, but a search didn't, Lovecraft didn't do haiku as far as I knew, and the others were creepy and spooky, but who the hell did these? Because usually when I'm looking at public domain for things that I can present in New Low Games products, or read on the webpage, read on the YouTube channel, I write the author in the file so I can, when I go back to it later, I know where I got it from. There's no accreditation on any of these haiku, and I'm looking at them going, who did these? It's not Robert Howard. He didn't do any haiku either. That's usually the guy whose poetry I've been collecting, and with a mind toward another anthology of his poems. So I'm trying to figure out who did these. And as I'm driving to work today, it strikes me who did those poems. Well, I did those poems. Several years ago, a friend of mine, former coworker named Lester Smith, was putting together an anthology horror haiku that he was going to release around Halloween. And I made some submissions. In fact, I ended up getting a poem in his anthology, and I think it was the one with the that poem that consisted of 3 haiku verses. Lester improved upon it greatly to the point where it's a shared byline on the poem because he did some very good editorial changes to it, as I recall. But like so many other things that I've worked on over the years, I didn't keep I don't have a copy of the book anymore that it was in, and I kept really crappy records. But those mystery haiku, they were by me, and so I'll be reading a couple on the channel shortly, maybe even tonight, I don't know, but it'll appear maybe tomorrow morning, I don't know, since I've already decided that tomorrow evening I'm going to be doing one of those live broadcasts, which will be like this. I'll just be rambling at the camera, and if someone shows up so we can bounce off each other, that would be great. But if nobody shows up, it will just be like this. I'll just ramble a bit, and then I'll call it good. But as I said, I am now home. Don't see the appeal to driving and recording. Maybe it is all about the driving pigs. Anyhow, if you've lasted this long, you probably do want to click like on this video. Or you can leave a comment down below that says, God, that was the biggest waste of time. That was, 22 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Or you can even subscribe to the channel. This is actually pretty much a good example of what you'll see. Usually a little better lit. That's about it. So anyhow, have a good evening, whoever is seeing this, whoever finds this, whoever watches it, whoever sticks around this long. Again, I thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day, whatever it is where you are. And on that note, I'm going to push the button, and because we are clear.